Hello and welcome. My name is Critias, and this is my 5,000 day hardcore Minecraft world tour. To begin today, we have a lot to go through, so we have to move along pretty quickly. We're starting today at spawn chunks. Of course, the location where you first arrive whenever you start a new world. It's very important you mark this off because this is where you arrive, returning from the end if you have not placed a bed or if you've destroyed one since we make it safe, it's walled in, so every time we do return from the end build, which you'll see later on today, this is where we pop in. I figured to begin today's tour, we would start with some interesting facts about the world just to get us started, as well as go over a bit of the design philosophy behind my particular playstyle. Everybody plays differently, of course. We are on Minecraft Day 5108, which is about 5,107 days longer than I expected to get on my first time playing on this setting. You'll see a couple of farms dotted around here. It's common to see farms in spawn chunks for various reasons. I'm not going to go over the mechanics for each of these, but full credit for every farm in the world will be given in the description below. Vast majority of them are from Raiseworks, Logical Geek Boy, and Wattles, with a couple more scattered around. So yeah, over 5,000 days in this world. In terms of real time played, we're looking at just over 61 real life days, or 1,474 hours. Quite a bit, but it is stretched out over a long time. I can only play Minecraft about 15-16 hours a week, with a full work schedule and other commitments outside of that. But we've been playing on this world since September 2020, on and off, maybe 2 or 3 hours a week, until I started streaming live on Twitch, where my play time has become somewhat more consistent at about that 15 hours a week or so. Across those Minecraft days, we're looking at having slept 1,854 times, meaning that I quite often will work through the night and refuse to sleep, no matter how often the phantoms knock me about. They are quite annoying. I do skip them from time to time, but I have spent a lot of time in the end, as you'll see later. Let's see. We have villager trading, as many of you are no doubt aware, is broken. We've traded over 93,700 times with villagers for everything from our food supply, building materials, emeralds for buying enchanted books. The list goes on. Villagers are the key to a successful Minecraft world. No matter how irritating they are, you're gonna have to deal with them sooner or later. Throughout this world, I have killed over 31,000 hostile mobs, vast majority of them being Endermen, from our Enderman farm for XP in the early stages of the game. And here we go. Distance traveled: by land, 6,000 kilometers, by sea, 1,000, and by air, a paltry 10,700. The reason for this being that the larger your Minecraft world is, the larger the file save size, and the easier it is for that world to corrupt. So while exploring is fun, I do so in moderation to try and keep that size down and build within the limits that I've explored to this time. Rockets, we've crafted over 74,000 rockets, and I've only used 24,000 to fly. I use them sparingly, not so often. That's the last of the stats, but as we continue on towards my home base, I'll talk about how I play, and that is rather slowly. I take my time, I make sure I focus on the small details, and I build very, very large structures. When you see Minecraft builds, it's typically either very detailed, but relatively small in size, or incredibly huge, but there's not a lot going on. They use the size for impact rather than the detail. I decided to give myself a bit of a challenge, and because I'm a stickler for details, I built both large and detailed. So throughout the course of this world tour video, I'll be playing a series of short videos, showcases that show off each of the builds to their fullest extent, And then we'll continue after those with a kind of walking tour where I can talk about some of the finer points, little details or interesting things that may not make it into the videos. So as we approach the end of this pathway, you'll see the first major build of this world, which is of course my home. I wanted a home island, relatively flat, decently sized, where I could construct a Japanese-inspired safe haven from the world around me, full of hostile monsters and such. So this is the island home of Hinansho, which is Japanese for a safe haven or a refuge. It was constructed in 1.16 when spawn proofing was much more difficult, and as such, every single block on this island is fully spawn proofed. I can walk around without armor completely fine. I don't feel the need for it when I'm here. So we're going to go ahead and roll the video for Hinansho, and I'll see you at the other end and take you through a guided tour. Welcome back. Okay, so this is my home island. The actual main base itself is this main large house in the middle. The vast majority of the buildings around are mostly for decoration, but there's a couple of farms scattered about. We'll take a quick peek at some of them. Stepping through the main gates to the town here, we'll find, well, first off, we come to our stables, I suppose. Good place to start. We have the first of several little Easter eggs scattered throughout the island. We have a few skeleton horses. I managed to catch 3 of the first 4 that I encountered. I had no idea what these were first time I saw them. But the first one is named Astrobones. This is named after Astronaut, who was the first person to subscribe to my Twitch channel. Across here we have Skellane, named after Elainetti, a fellow Twitch streamer and my first person to donate bits to the channel. And here we have Chromebone, named after Chrome Gamer, who was my very first follower and scared the bejesus out of me by popping in and talking when I was zoned out and building the creeper farm inside our Japanese castle. We'll take a quick peek inside. Now, the creeper farm in here was built just off my own knowledge of the game. I did not build it as efficiently as possible. It still works very well. We've got a couple of live specimens trapped in here. You can probably hear them. Yep, there they go. They start sizzling basically as soon as we get close to the castle. We'll go into free cam mode. It's just a cat tower design. I'm sure many people are familiar with these. I can't credit anyone with this because a lot of people claim to have invented them, and that one is not 100% efficient. But it does do very, very well. It's provided all the gunpowder I've needed to date. I've never once run out, even after making 50,000 fireworks for milestone events. Underneath, I've got a small sugarcane farm packed away for all the paper we need. And between this and upstairs, I've got all the rockets I'll ever need. So here we can see the space is used efficiently and fully. I don't like to have areas where there is nothing going on. My main concept for builds as large as this one is it's mostly as an interactive thing. Screenshots are fantastic, but I much prefer to show them off to people by walking through them. So we have little pathways built through, and there's something to look at every turn of the head. We've got customized cliffs, we have gardens, we have just little buildings and small seating areas tucked away, so that every time we pass through, people who are familiar with the world will still find something new on the second and third, fourth tour. I really like people being able to appreciate or notice little things that they didn't notice the first time through. But this is, of course, the main house. This is the headquarters to the world. It's not the most high-tech base in the world, but it's home, it's cozy, and it's mine. So this is my central storage area. There's no redstone sorting or anything like that. All of the things in here are built and stored according to block type, where I can quickly get my hands on what I need without needing to go through hundreds and hundreds of chests. Everything is packed away by block type and easily accessible. We've got a smelting area here at the back with some more mining storage. This is what I've mapped out from the 1.16 chunks. Once the game updated, I did explore beyond these borders, but not terribly far. This is around about the extent of the world, minus a few forays further out. Let's see, we've got mining access down here, where I don't normally pop down here, but I do want to show you guys one thing. We have a ball pit. Anyone who's ever been to a kid's playground when you were younger, no doubt remember the large plastic tubs full of balls to play in. We've got our own. We use tiny slimes for this. They're all named Boing, so they don't despawn. They don't cause damage to the player. We can just bounce around here happily. And this is a fun little build we did quite some time ago after finishing up. I believe it was the pagoda upstairs. Getting out is a little tricky though. We don't want these guys escaping. There's a few other little things scattered around down here. We've got some cactus, some nether wart. We've got a concrete converter here, or not concrete, a stone generator. That was full of chickens, and this is where I did most of my strip mining in the early days. Stepping over to one side of the house, we have a meeting hall built entirely for the hell of it, just because I thought it would look nice. Coming through this side entrance here, we have the armory. This was the first time I ever did a channel point redemption build in the world, where viewers to the Twitch channel can spend points to purchase a suit of armor for themselves to their own specifications. Diamond is very popular, but we also have some gold, iron, and dyed leather. We have more upstairs, as well as a place to put weapons of choice. Now, weapons is loosely interpreted. We have everything from mushrooms to apples to sticks to gardening tools to ink sacs. Yes, this is the kind of humor you deal with when you come here. And yeah, that's I'm actually very proud of the armory. Never expected it to get anywhere near as full as it is, but it's a good place. There's a lot of stories through there. Some of those items have got interesting and unique backstories behind them, inside jokes and little side references. Down here through the floor, you can hear the moaning coming from down there. That's the pool cleaner. One of my earlier villagers threw himself down there and refuses to leave. So Mr. Shark Meme over there has been swimming laps of this place for 4,000 days, 4,500 days. He won't leave, so he lives down here now. Upstairs, I go up here really briefly. We come to the throne room. This is where we store the dragon egg for this world. It's kept up there on top of some end rods inside our beacon beam. We've had technical support doggos, Havoc, named after Havoc Tracks, and Bushka. These two have been invaluable help in patching mods, fixing JavaScript and such that lets me get shaders working and such, and have been a huge help. We also have the Emperor himself, Emperor Bigglesworth, who is in fact the true lord of this world and our master. Nothing happens without his say-so. Across the other side of the house, we have our mascot Squishy. And then we come across this way through the covered walkway to the villager trading hall. Now, I've had to place this a ways off from the house because of the noise. Now, we've got a mod running that changes the villager sounds from the usual "hrr" to a suggestive moan. We've got a large selection of enchanters, stonemasons, farmers, and clerics for everything I would need. There's more under the floor when I needed extra. This is on 5% volume. It is deafening on full volume, so we leave them quite low. As the sun rises, we come across here to one of my favorite houses here on the island. This is the Cat Cafe. This was another channel point redemption where viewers could name a cat, and they're all like enjoying a nice fish meal. At the back of this cafe, we come to Horny Jail. Now this is my villager breeder. The villager breeder was designed by Waddles, and the collection system here I got from a small channel called Game Changer OP on YouTube. This is perhaps the most ingenious thing I've ever seen, where we can just press a single button and scoop one villager out at a time. It's a huge time saver, and we have an off switch. If we don't need villagers, we can switch on this lava stream here, and this takes care of the problem of overpopulation very efficiently. So we have Horny Jail in the back of a cat cafe. So there was only one thing we could name this place, and so the cafe was dubbed Horny Pussy Cafe. Directly across the street from the cafe is perhaps my favorite part of the island. This is the cherry blossom garden we call Sakura Stroll, and this is dedicated to a Twitch streamer and VTuber, Silvervale, who was my main inspiration for starting streaming in the first place, and is someone I've enjoyed watching their content for quite a long time now. She shares my passion for Japanese architecture and culture, as well as cherry blossoms in general. This place was dedicated to her and modeled after a real-life location in Japan called the Golden Pavilion. Gold, of course, is not a very good building material, but we make do with sandstone there. We've got a fish pond here with some salmon taking the place of koi. And the trees themselves are hollow. They're full of water so that these coral blocks don't die. My first attempt at making cherry blossoms. It's a little crude, but I think it turned out quite well. And here in the back we have Silver herself, with her mother Mama Vale, her brother Con, and her cats Salem and Yui enjoying a nice picnic. I was fortunate enough to be able to show Silver this place and get her reaction. She's very much appreciative and loved how cute this whole place looks. That was a great moment. We've got a wool farm down this way, tucked away underneath the house. This one has been working non-stop since the world began. The shears have long since worn out, but I've got a large collection of wool for whatever I need it for. Mostly I use it for planning out builds in advance. Stepping out from the back door of the house, we come to the fox enclosure. Now, they all sleep during the day. These are nocturnal creatures, but I intended these to be free range. I wanted the foxes to be running throughout the whole island with berry bushes scattered about, but these guys are glitchy as hell. They also eat everything they can get their teeth around, so I had foxes jumping into my fish pond and eating all the trout or salmon. I also had them glitching through the carpet traps that keep mobs out and into my fish tank. So in the end, I was forced to keep them inside their own enclosure. One of these foxes is named Zion, after another streamer called Zion Fox, who raided me early in my Twitch days. It was very nice to get a visit from her and her community, the Potato Battalion, and we've been good friends ever since. So that's a fantastic reminder of the early days I have here. Stepping along here, we've got some guest rooms just for the hell of it, and the Grand Pagoda that you've seen in the videos and up until now is another hollow build. The inside is an empty box, but we've made full use of the space and slapped it full of melon and pumpkin farm. These are stackable and tileable. You can make these as tall as you want, and they're all hooked up to a redstone clock that harvests them roughly once every Minecraft day. This one is accredited to Exuma Void. We'll have his link in the description as well. Stepping down into the south end of the island, we come to a couple of small hobby farms. And our workshop, this is the Ironworks, where we have these little hand carts pulled up, an outdoor smelting area, and inside I've placed, as you can hear them, more villagers. Most of these are toolsmiths. We have got an armor smith and a weaponsmith as well. This is where we sell the iron from the iron farm at a 1-to-1 trade from zombification and curing, effectively turning iron into emeralds for all of my trading needs. It's also a great source of XP. Opposite here we come to the onsen, the outdoor hot springs bathing area. You take off your stuff, get yourself naked, run down here into the water, have a nice relaxing soak. At night time, this place is absolutely gorgeous with all of the glowberries and the lanterns. I love it here. And then our final locations for the island of Hinansho is this big house here on the end of the cliff. Got a fantastic view if you can turn the render distance up high enough. And then at the end, we come to the Nether portal. This is built after to resemble a Japanese shrine gate or a Tory gate. It's a blessings to the gods in the heavens and all that, and it's supposed to give luck and good fortune, which is exactly what you'll need when you go to Minecraft Hell, which is our next stop. So here we are in the Nether. This is the central Nether hub for this world. I do have some things up on the ceiling. We can get there through a simple ladder access, but I wanted to do most of my Nether travel sub-ceiling or through the Nether itself, just so we have an excuse to build something cool and have something nice to look at when traveling from build to build. I do have some portals up there for long distance travel to like distant biomes for specific building ingredients, but all of the major builds are connected through the subway tunnels. We have a north-south facing tunnel that will eventually lead to what has been pegged out as a wither skeleton farm sometime in the future. That's a build project for another day. Down this way and around that corner, it leads to my guardian farm. That will receive an extensive teardown and rebuild in the future, so I won't go into it today, but I will put a link to the farm type and its architect, Tezzerino, in the description. This connects to World Spawn with all of our hardcore hearts. So it's a quick jaunt from portal to portal, unless you want to take the overworld route. And then the other locations connected on this east-west running tunnel will take us to the first of our major build projects, which was built as a love letter to the Twitch community. We're heading off to the Lair of the Void Dragon. So when I first started this world, my intention was to build the island home first and then an end build, a very large end build, but unexpectedly I started forming a community. And as a giant thank you to everybody for their support and for hanging out and spending time chatting as I played the silly block game, we built a thing for the community to spend their channel points on, and we ended up with a gigantic dragon's lair. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video for the Lair of the Void Dragon. When we come back, I will take you through and explain some of the ins and outs of the build. So I'll see you at the other end. Welcome back. This is part of the lair that not many people get to see. This is the outside of the dragon's lair. As you can see, it was built on what was once a mushroom island. The mushroom biome, as many of you know, has unique spawning mechanics in that regular mobs do not spawn anywhere inside the biome boundary. So after mapping out the exact edge of the mushroom island, the entire island was flattened and then a huge hole was dug down 40 blocks. There goes my dripstone farm. 40 block deep hole was dug out by hand so that I could store most of the stone for a future project. All of which has actually been used. All we have left here is some andesite and some dirt. This was my my construction platform where I kept all my storage, but inside we get to the build itself. We start off in the portal chamber and lush cave. Now there's some story behind this build, in that once upon a time there was a subterranean village known as Deepholm, where the people lived relatively peacefully in the deep dark places of the world until the great void dragon Abyssian destroyed their village and slaughtered its people, taking this amazing cavern for his home. Now dragons are evil and malicious creatures who always wish to dominate and rule over others, a lot of them anyway. So wishing for subjects to rule over, Abyssian used his magic to open a rift in the ocean floor and cause this trade ship to fall down into the Underdark with him before sealing the entrance behind. This massive landslide cracked the ship in half and destroyed a portion of the town, but gave him all of the slaves and servants he would need, as the survivors were pressed into service, mining up the treasures of the world and building piles of loot to appease their new draconic lord. And this was where viewers to the channel would flex on each other effectively by purchasing a plot of land which came with an armor stand named after themselves, and then additional points could be spent to buy packets of treasure blocks, themed treasure blocks. There was silver, gold, copper blocks, assorted gemstones, magical items, suits of armor, unique or specialized block types, pets, all sorts of things could be added to people's treasure piles. And because they could purchase them in the packets that they chose, we had some very unique and interesting customizing going on. Here we can see Essentially Dead has gone for essentially a Egyptian theme, as they wanted. Gold, lapis, and some diamond. Elaine Eddy has gone for a solid pile of gold. And Oakchew, the largest pile in this build, has gone with her favorite color schemes of green and brown and built this gigantic pillar of copper and emeralds. There was some extremely friendly competition, but also fierce rivalry between several people trying to build the biggest piles they could. We have over there we have Naishe, Uncle OnePlus, Hyper Kiwi. Some of these people spent an absurd amount of channel points on these creations, and I'm incredibly proud of their achievements here. Now the dragon himself has 4 lieutenants. The horsemen of the apocalypse, we have the aspects of death, war, famine, and pestilence. I managed to get all 4 skeleton horses this time. So these were very hotly contested and they sold out quick. So once the cavern itself was dug out and I started building the township, I wanted to make it look like a ruined town where all of the buildings shared similar characteristics. We have these chiseled deep slate at head height roughly. We've gone for a nether brick design. We've used only soul lanterns and no wood. There's nothing down here is made of wood. Where would they get it? And we have mushroom gardens in place of trees and such. We have some outdoor garden areas. We have walled fences. We have a ruined guard tower. Street lights, of course. And we also have these fissures opening up with all these crystals coming out of them, dotted throughout. There's There's a lot to see. There's a lot to explore and to look at. We have this gigantic ravine running through the center of the build. With faded glass or fog effect running through it. These large amethyst pillars. And we have the mines over here. This is where all of our captives would get the raw materials, and then they'd be smelted up here at the forges and turned into the final product before adding to the piles. So without spawn proofing being needed down here, we could keep this build fairly dark. There's lighting where we need it, but everything else is allowed to fade into the background so that the eye is drawn to the details we want. Got more buildings here with piles coming up out of the roof. We've got Stagsby and Alistair, Cotton Candies. There's a lot of names, a lot of friendly people who've come through the channel. Most of them are still with us. Some of them do leave over time for other things, and then occasionally they come back and are always amazed by the progress we've had in their absence. And at the very back of the build we have the Dripstone Cave section, which leads up to what would have been canonically the way in and out of this part of the world through this back section here. Used black concrete back there to give the illusion that the cave keeps going. But yeah, this was my first true mega build, I would say, after the home island. The whole thing is about 300 blocks across from long side to long side by about 250 on the narrow side. Every block you see here is hand placed. None of this is naturally generated, and I had 10 near heart attacks placing those end crystals. You'd think I would learn my lesson, but I did it again in the end, which is where we're heading next. So I'm going to head back to the Nether and get ourselves to the next major build project, and I'll come back to you then. Okay, here we are at the end build. This was the build I first wanted to make. I've had this build in mind since day one of this hardcore world, and with the Dragon's Lair completed and a month off for exploration and general farm building and other maintenance, we finally got started on the end mega project. Now, as with the Dragon's Lair, every entrance to a major build site is built to reflect the area that you're headed to give you a taste of what's in store for you. So here we've built a micro void. This is a large concrete lined box. The ash cloud from the magma or the basalt delta, completely unintentional, but nonetheless it does seem to work quite well. We have a small end island down here with the micro city here being taken over by nature, and this is the whole theme for the end build. So the end dimension is a desolate wasteland. It's barren, it's empty, it's lifeless. So for my biggest project ever, I wanted to make it look like a band of assorted druids and nature wizards and such, attempting to restore life to that dimension. And you'll see the results as we step through. We've got a transitionary portal entrance here. I really like this. I'm going to turn the shaders on for this one so it looks better, but essentially when you step through from a nether access and go towards the end, you invariably see people go through a stronghold room, the portal chamber. Now, I'm not a big fan of the stronghold. I think it needs a huge facelift and appearance, so in terms of that, I went ahead and built a transitionary magical gateway to make it look like we're moving from one dimension to the other. And to do that, I've used my favorite block in the game, Crying Obsidian, to get us these eerie walls and the dripping particles here. And the floor is ant chests underneath black carpet, so we get this particle effect coming through, which looks really cool. And then at the end here, The portal frame itself doesn't really match the decor, so we deleted the portal frames using the mushroom hack. It still works, it's fantastic. And this will take us through to the end. Now, I'm going to play another build video. This is a little different from the others. It shows what the end looked like on day 1 of the project before I had started building anything. All 20 portals had been spawned. We've killed the dragon 22 times total on this world. And then it'll jump forward 3 months to show the progress we've made in the first 3 months of construction. So I'll go ahead and play that for you guys now, and I'll see you at the other side. And hello. It's quite a change, isn't it? So basically, the end build is a supercharged island transformation. So the end stone has barely been changed. There's a few small areas where it's been modified or trimmed back, but for the most part, if we dig down just one block through any of this, the end island itself has maintained its original shape. We've just given it a facelift, and we've done so make it look like an enchanted forest, basically. So I've only got 1/3 of the total island size terraformed to date, but I'll take you through the main areas we've built so far. The first biome is this enchanted oak forest, where we have our access to the build from our spawn portal there, or the arrival platform. Walking up this large wooden structure, we come to pathways that lead through to various places of the island. This one comes downstairs to the shoreline, where we have the beach, the custom palm trees, and our beach goers down that way. Through this way we come to our massive cherry blossom tree. As you can see, I learned a trick or two since the last ones I built, and the new one is a considerable upgrade on the last. I'm extremely happy with how this one turned out, and it was just as difficult as it looks to build, but I think well worth the effort. As before, we have more armor statues dotted throughout where people can place themselves in the world. There's a couple of friends from Twitch there, Anthony YTG and Prudy Gaming. Got themselves a good spot there. There's a lot of people in here I've met through Twitch, streamers and otherwise. There's Lycient. Down this way we come, there's Oakdew again. Oakdew with her new sapling being planted. There are places of the island that aren't finished yet. There's still a work in progress. As you can see, the stone that was taken from the dragon's lair has been put to good effect. This is, as far as I'm aware, one of, if not the largest end builds in the world. You are looking at a 401 block diameter stone circle with a 41 block high wall of black stained glass to hold in an ocean that was placed there by hand. And we have barely begun on this build. Oof. The next biome, opposite, we come to a tall birch forest over this way, combined with a flower field. So we have these little picnic blankets set up where people can sit down and enjoy a breather. We have Potter and Yoru here enjoying some cake. Alright, the halo. So the halo incorporates all 20 of the dragon summoned portals. Every time you kill the dragon, you get a portal to the wastes, and every one of them have now got a build around it with a guardian standing watch. I think we have 2 places left. They're almost all taken. Got a custom birch tree there and a custom oak tree over on that one. And the end has never looked this pretty, I don't think. The portal, the pillars themselves, I've been getting to them one by one as the island progresses. This one here has been completely mined down and then rebuilt to lean up against this one. We're going to make it look like nature is doing a number on the island and like even wearing down these massive pillars. This one here has been cracked in half. There's a tree growing out the top of it. And this one here is being strangled. It's difficult to see against the sky, but it's actually tilted at an angle where this large wooden thing is crushing it. Now these wooden snaky things dotted throughout the forest will actually become tree roots. The center of the island will play host to a gigantic tree that will stretch up for 100, 200 blocks. And up there is where I'm going to build my new Enderman farm. It used to be out past this guy, the Primordial of Fire. Each of the druid types in the end build has their own primordial, which are like a sort of elemental demigod who they use their magic to try and restore life to this realm. This is the Primordial of Fire in his fire-themed home. We just started working on the ocean region down there, where the Primordial of the Sea will be a counterpart to this guy. We're going to use the same tricks we learned with the flowing lava blocks to build her out of water and ice. But this fire region was a lot of fun to build. We've got a lava tube, which is a naturally forming underground lava river that flows all the way through this custom biome to the sea, where we have this explosive reaction of lava meets water. And on the opposite side, a slightly more calm side to the island, where we have these, for lack of a better word, trees. They've seen better days, but this peaceful grove area has been split by a ravine, with more lava pouring out that way, seawater from that side mixing in the middle. There is a druid of each type for forest, sea, fire, and air, who mostly act as guardians for this place on the Halo Ring and elsewhere. There is a fifth faction. The druids had their work cut out for them, and so they reached out to the mages of the Conclave, who arrived, and using their magic, they brought the Citadel of Whitespire with them to lend their assistance in this noble cause. So we have one last video to play for the mages of Whitespire. I'll play that now, and when we come back, I'll take you on a quick tour of their home island here. Hello again. Welcome to Whitespire. This is, perhaps, hands down, my favorite build for this world so far. Now, the design for this place is actually inspired by one of my favorite places from World of Warcraft, a game I spent well over a decade playing. Anyone who's familiar with the Wrath of the Lich King expansion will know the city of Dalaran, the main hub for players of that expansion, floats above a forest made of Crystal Song Forest, and this was inspired by that place. The dark flooring has been reproduced with mud and soul soil, and the trees, as close as I can get them to the original Warcraft design, we've gone for quartz pillars and amethyst. There's a lot of amethyst, and this coupled with the stuff we had in the Dragon's Lair had pushed the few geodes I found to their absolute limit and resulted in some of the only real AFKing I've done in this world just to generate more of this stuff. I'm a little stubborn. Once I've put my mind to something, I will do whatever it takes to finish the project. In terms of building design, the wizards I felt needed a different approach to my usual methods of texturing walls and such with different types of blocks. There's a very small amount of blocks that go well with each other, especially in the white spectrum. They tend to stand out quite well against each other, which is fantastic for texturing. But for this, for lack of a better word, this sterile, pristine, and flawless approach to a wizard's building, I needed something where the entire building was the exact same shade as each other block. And unfortunately, quartz being the most plentiful or the easiest to build with, it resulted in villager trades galore. I think we came here with 5 shulker boxes full of quartz blocks, and it wasn't enough. We went through, I think, another box and a half before this place was finished, and I think 2 shulker boxes full of amethyst blocks. But anyway, wizards don't have to abide by certain rules such as load-bearing structures or physics or gravity, so we have a floating roof on this outdoor study region with these little columns of light, providing the support, for lack of a better word. We've got even more people coming in with their redemptions here. Across the way, on the other side of the island here, we have an outdoor study region. This is like a university type of lecture hall. We have magical theory being taught by a professor down there, while our students pay diligent attention. Upstairs and around this pathway and off to the side of the main citadel, we have live specimen study, where Tanker here is hard at work dissecting an enderman with a couple more in storage. It turns out their AI isn't terribly difficult to figure out, and these guys will stay there forever. And then on the inside, as you saw from the video, we have a little bit of an interior for this place. We come to the library, where Archivist Amazran goes over the curriculum. So that's it. This is my favorite build. I love it to bits. It turned out even better than I could have possibly imagined. I hope you guys enjoy. That basically brings us to the end of the tutorial, or the end of the tour. In the future, the things that are yet to arrive on this island, there is actually a gigantic hollow space underneath this thing, which is going to be converted into a underground grotto. We have a plains biome or a meadow coming in with the primordial of the forest here. This side of the island will play host to a large coral reef and a sunken city type Atlantean type build. We're going to have a rainforest here, a large spruce forest here, perhaps with some treetop homes, I'm not sure yet. And then of course the world tree in the very center, which will dominate the entire build once it's done. It's going to be absolutely enormous, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing this place come to its final form. It's going to be amazing. I've been here for about 6 months. It's probably going to take that long again to finish, but I'm here for the long haul, and I'm very excited to see how it turns out. So officially, that's the end of the tour. Anyone who's interested in farms or anything like that, I will do a quick buzz around to a couple of the farms in the world to show which ones I have. Again, the full credit will go with links in the description below. But until next time, guys, that'll do for today. And if I'm still going, maybe I'll see you guys in 5,000 more days. Anyone who's interested in following these builds being done live and in real time, you can find me at my Twitch channel on twitch.tv/Hinansho. twitch.com/critius_. I stream 4 days a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays in the evenings, and then Saturday and Sunday as well, with the occasional extra day thrown in if and when I can. But until then, until next time, take care, enjoy your day, and good night. I'm going to bed. You're still here? You must like farms. If you like farms, I've got a farm for you. This is my mob farm. You've probably seen 1,000 like this before. This is my one. We have a quad flushing mob farm here. Each of them is rigged up to their own redstone clock. I've been thinking of putting them all into a single switch, but it seems to work quite well when they run individually to each other. Flushing mob farms are the norm in any Minecraft world. But when the spawning platforms are available, it's very rare to see more than 15 to 20 mobs in them at any given time. So with the AFK platform up there and us being quite a ways off the ground, when all 4 farms are running as they are, I get very close to the mob cap every time the water filters or every time the water cycles. So 4 of these things running together is an absolute monster of a farm. Each one has its own storage system and sorting system. I spit out all of the rotting flesh down into that. I keep the string in one container. I think 2 of them are bones and 3 of them are gunpowder, just in case I ever need a stupid amount of gunpowder and the creeper farm at home is not keeping up. I have this as a backup. The bones were primarily for bone meal and bone blocks should I want to build with them, but since building this thing I haven't really had to use it much, if at all. The next farm on the agenda, we will swing by the Guardian farm real quick if anybody was interested, so I'll see you when I arrive. This is my Guardian farm. Now as you can see, it's not drained. This is a drainless farm by Cortezarino. Link down below. This farm, if you have all the materials on hand and you know what you're doing, can be built in as little as 1 hour. Now it took me closer to 4, but in terms of early game Guardian farms, this is very effective. I think it works perfectly fine for any single player world. Of course, a drain farm is going to be much better in terms of drops per hour, which means less AFK time and more materials gathered, but for a single player world, I got this thing done before I even started streaming. It took me 1 day of work, easy peasy. I'm going to free cam down to show you how it works. It's very simple. It basically just uses a stupid amount of soul sand to force guardians up into this overlying water stream, which pushes them into the middle and then into a kill chamber full of campfires. And then below the campfires, the hoppers filter down into, I've split it 4 ways, into the standard sorting and storage system. All of the cod I get rid of, I keep everything else, including the ink from the occasional squid that finds its way in there. I did originally have it just going into a series of chests and then a single storage system, but the hopper rate was not able to keep up with this thing, so I split it into 4, and it now does very, very well. I have not had to AFK this thing in a year. It works extremely well. Next farms on the list are back at spawn chunks, which are just over here, so there's no need for a cutaway. As I mentioned before, this iron farm was designed by Wattles. It's almost an exact copy of his design. I just had to put a right angle turn, and I put some ice here to make things a bit easier for the golems to fall. We have 3 villages and a bed up there where they can draw a line of sight to a zombie stored down below. The golems fall down into this catchment pond and then down into the kill chamber as per usual. I could, I think, get up to 4 cells up here, but I wasn't sure how it would mess with the villager mechanics of how close they had to be, so I left it at 2, and it does work very well. This is the moss farm by Raiseworks. It was very difficult to build. The build tutorial was a little bit flawed. There are a couple of mistakes in it, but there are fixes in the description of his YouTube video, and I got it up and running. If I can manage to get this thing running, anyone can. Just a word of warning, the storage system for this thing has to be beefy. I ran this farm for about an hour, and it almost completely backed up. This thing is an absolute monster. If you need moss of any kind, or anything azalea sapling related, or if you turn this into a bone meal farm, you are set. This is an absolute monster of a farm. This is my TNT duping tree farm. I believe this one was by Logical Geek Boy. The tutorial for this one in particular has got several different endings depending on how you want to harvest your wood. I've gone for the TNT duping one. There's a non-duping method as well for people who don't wish to use those. And then over this way, this is the concrete converter by Raiseworks. This was the first major redstone contraption I built for the ludicrous amount of concrete I needed for the Nether subway. I did the Japanese built concrete entirely by hand, but I wasn't doing that for the subway. It looks like an absolute beast of a thing. I took one look at this thing and filled my pants, but it's surprisingly simple to build. The tutorial is very straightforward, easy to follow, and yeah, if I can follow it, anyone can. Highly recommend. I think this thing gets about 9,500 concrete per minute. And it's never once broken or backed up or anything. I have no problems with that farm whatsoever. Next farms are up on the Nether ceiling, so it's a bit of a way. I'll see you guys once I arrive. This is not the ceiling. This is the hub again. I forgot about this one. This is the Piglin bartering farm. Or our trading center. This is another one by Logical Geek Boy. It's slightly adapted from his build tutorial. The tutorial video has a 24 piglin trading system. Mine is 16 because the redstone in this section was a little easier, and I was a little bit confused by the other one, so I ran a 16 version. It's, in a word, glorious. So you basically put gold in there. It all filters down into 2 separate droppers. And then you switch this thing on, and it starts the redstone clock. They trade, the piglins drop their trades, and then that slime block moves back, this slime block pushes forward, so the trades end up against this chest, and then this slime block pushes forward, and all of their trades in one big bundle slide along this ice, with half the trade on the hoppers and half the trade on the ice. So as it proceeds down this ice path, it gets picked up by the appropriate filters and down into the storage system below. It will trade a full stack of gold ingots in 4 trades, or around about 12 seconds. And we have slots for every trade possible from piglin bartering. Because they move so quickly, the ones that are more plentiful we have several boxes for, but we have the gravel, blackstone, quartz, both types of obsidian, nether brick, fire charges, end pearls, leather, spectral arrows, string, and then everything else goes into a bucket at the end. The splash potions and the fire resistance in particular are very handy to pick up. We just have to redstone those to make them extended. The last farms for this world are up top, and I mean it this time. We'll cut away, I'll come back when we reach the top. Here we are at the Hoglin farm, another one by Logical Geek Boy. This is as simple as they get. We have a spawning platform, everything's rigged up and lit up in such a way that only Hoglin will spawn. Hoglins are scared of these little green mushrooms, so they run towards the middle, where they identify these open trapdoors as solid blocks. You fall into that chamber and die. Simple. This thing produces more pork chops than any sane person will ever need, but I built it solely for the leather. It's a very good source of leather. I've since scooped all the leather, obviously, but yeah, food and leather, brilliant. The gold farm you can see up here is familiar shape. I'm sure many of you have seen one like this. I got this design from Wattles. It's all got glass on top to prevent ghasts from spawning. It's very loud. We use entity cramming. So anyone who's not familiar, essentially only a certain amount of mobs can be on one block at a time. We fill that one block with minecarts so that when piglin drop into the kill chamber, they die almost instantly to cram damage. And all you have to do is shoot one of these guys, stand in the appropriate place up here, and the piglin do the rest of the work for you. It generates a sizable amount of gold, which goes into our sorting and storage system. All of the rotting meat and gold swords go into a lava bucket. We keep the nuggets and the ingots, and it also generates a ludicrous amount of XP. It's far superior to an Enderman farm in terms of XP per hour, and I've been using it as my main source of repairing things ever since I built it. I have actually jumped off this roof once before without wings, only managing to switch at the last second when I was about 10 blocks from bedrock. Let's not do that again. And here we have the final farm of the world. This is a farm I picked up from another streamer called Goofchi. Goofchi was inspired by a few different places and modified a couple of different designs into what you see here. His farm is much larger than mine, but it's essentially the same thing. It makes extensive use of powdered snow, so that when the magma slimes spawn, they immediately start taking damage to the snow, and then as they break down into their smaller sizes, the frogs take care of the rest of the business for us. I'm not sure why they gathered here on this corner, but they do spread out over time. And then any froglights that drop get picked up by these minecarts that are running around here. They do get stuck from time to time, and I have to get down there and get them going again. Every 10 to 15 minutes it needs to be reset. I have to redo the minecart system, but while it's working from my AFK platform up there, this thing does work. I make hundreds and hundreds of frog lights every few minutes from that thing. It is ridiculously good. And that's it. Apart from the other portals you see up here that go to different biomes when I was moving frogs around, that's essentially it. World Tour was finished a while back, but this concludes the farm portion. If you're still here, yay, I hope you enjoy. And maybe we'll have some more farms in future. Take care and good night.